Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we're looking at an ink from the brand Robert Oster. It's one of the new inks Robert has produced. It is an ink called Black Violet. Now, Black Violet is a really interesting sort of black purple colour. Similar to, I suppose, what a blue black would be, but with sort of a purple base as the main sort of colour there. It's a really interesting colour, and in a really wet pen, it is close to a black. You sort of have to look quite hard to see any colour, a bit like Diamine Eclipse in this way, perhaps. If we just look at a couple of other colours, just so you get a comparison as to what it looks like. Here are two Robert Osters that sort of are similar. First we have charcoal and then the blue black. Now you can see the difference between the blue black and the black violet. The more purple sort of base in the black violet as opposed to the blue black, and then with charcoal it's a slightly lighter purple that sort of comes through in the lighter shading. An ink that is similar to it from another brand is Mont Blanc Mystery Black. As you can see, they both share an interesting sort of purple tone within the lighter shading, and then the only difference being, of course, is the Mystery Black is a true black in its wettest form. If we look at the test now on paper, we can see that this ink performs really well. This was done with a Pilot Custom 74, and which is a fairly wet pen with a medium nib, and you can see there's no feathering, and there's a little bit of shading there. Dry time is fairly good, and I think the colour is really great. So we'll do a quick swab, and then we'll come back and do the second pen test and the water test, and see it on some other paper. Alright, as you can see, it dries with a really interesting sort of matte black sort of colour with some interesting sort of lighter shading, which really brings out the purple. Let's look at it on some other paper. First, let's start with the top paper here, which is the Tomoe River. Now, this is the 52 gram Tomoe River, a nice sort of resistant paper, and as you can see, there's a little bit of sheen to be found. This sort of dark red, purpley magenta sheen, and it's really beautiful. You don't get a lot of sheen in the writing, but there is a nice amount there in swabs, and I'm sure with an incredibly wet pen, you might actually get some in the writing as well. It performs really well. You know, other than the swabs, there's no real sort of bleed. There's a bit of sort of feather, ghosting, of course, but yeah, that's Tomoe River for you. But yes, really well behaved on this paper. Now, if we take a step below the Rhodia now, we get to sort of regular copy paper. This is Reflex 80 gram copy paper. And once again, it looks really great on this paper. There's no feathering, there's no real bleed apart from where I put down excessive amounts of ink. And as you can see, even in the finer nib there, it's really well behaved. On the lower end paper, the Spyrex note paper, we do get a little bit of bleed through, of course, and a couple of little bits of feathering, but really it's sort of expected on this paper. It's really low end, really designed for ballpoint pens and such. It dries fairly quickly, you know, within seconds on this paper, and you know, even on the Tomoe River here, the dry time is, you know, similar to that of the Rhodia. So let's do this second writing test, and the second pen is a Jinhao 911, which is an interesting pen, especially at its incredibly low price point. It's a hooded nib, you know, modelled off some better known pens perhaps, but unlike other pens of this style from other brands, this is a cartridge converter, and as you can see, I'm running rather low at the moment. I have used this ink a lot in the last couple of weeks. It's a really nice ink to write with, so nice and dark for professional use, but a nice little hint of colour there just for fun occasionally. Okay, so there it is in the much finer nib. It is a very, very fine nib, this pen. One of the reasons why I really like it for journaling and such. It's like I'm throwing it around. It's nice, and it's got a really interesting sort of, as I said, a blue-black sort of colour. It's similar, as I said, to Diamond Eclipse or something like that, in the fact that it can look quite black. And then you just get these lovely hints of the dark purple shading there. Let's do some water resistance. So first thing we'll do, of course, is take the water-soaked cotton bud and run that through the ink there. And just on with no effort whatsoever, it's taken a lot of the ink away. And then we'll do a little water drop. Lots of water down there on that one, and I'll just start mopping this up so we can see what we're left with. And well, as you can see, we're not left with terribly much, unfortunately. Most of the ink is taken up. Most of the detail is gone. You would have to be very quick to catch this, unfortunately. But permanency is not something that Robert Oster it says is a feature of his inks at this point. It's really those colours, and actually what you're left with after you take away the black is a really interesting, that lovely dark reddy purple that you see in the chromatography there. So let's talk through the 5 points. First, wetness and saturation. It is a nice wet ink, and the saturation is pretty good. Shading, it's interesting. When it's there, you get some beautiful little light shades of purple. Sheen, none in the writing, unfortunately, but as we saw on the Tomoe River, you can get some beautiful dark red, purpley sheen from this ink. Bleed and feather, it's pretty good. Really, on this sort of paper, on any fountain pen friendly paper, you're going to be fine. It's similar across the range for the Robert Oster inks. Cleaning is excellent, really good. It's cleaned out of a couple of pens without any problem. As you can see, the water resistance is low, so it's not going to hang around too much anywhere. Price is 50ml Santa bottle, as I said, is $20 Australian in the new pricing, or $17 US. So I've given this ink 4 out of 5. I think it's a really nice ink. It's well behaved. If there was a little bit more water resistance or some sort of really interesting X factor, it probably would have got a higher score, but 4 is pretty good, and it's a really lovely ink to work with. As I said, I've been using this ink a lot over the last couple of weeks, and yeah, it's just a really nice ink. It writes well on just about everything. So that was Robert Oster Black Violet. A really nice new ink in the Robert Oster range, and an ink that I think is going to be quite popular, more popular than, say, some of the other darker Robert Osters, because I think that shading colour is really quite beautiful. I hope you liked this video and found it useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Please hit the notifications button if you'd like to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free also to share these videos and help get the word out about some of these interesting products. If you're on social media, share them around, and let's share the love. Please feel free to drop me a message. You can do that either here on YouTube or at my blog on Instagram or Twitter, which are all linked down below. I'd love to hear from you if you've got any questions, or if you've got any products you think I should be looking at, or if you've got any information you'd like to pass on. Let's stay in touch. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you later.